So how are we using this? Well, since we've launched the index, we've been working with a number of countries focused initially on Latin America. And in December, we had an exciting announcement, which is that Paraguay became the first country in the world to adopt a national plan that has an economic development target and a social progress target. And this is a really important thing to understand about the Social Progress Index. It's not a replacement for GDP, it's a complement to. And that means it's very easy to adopt for a country to put social progress alongside GDP in its national development plan, just as Paraguay has done. And so what Paraguay is able to do is say, we know we're expecting economic growth over this period of 15 years, and it's going to be quite high. We're now going to prioritize actions to make sure that that economic growth is converted into social progress. And as a result of this, there are new budget allocations in the Paraguayan budget for housing, water, and nutrition. And for us, it's a really important thing that we can now see how the Social Progress Index has helped ensure that fewer Paraguayan kids go to bed hungry. And that's a really important piece of traction for us. So that's one way you can use the index. You can use it to apply to national policy making. Another thing we've done is we created this, the Social Progress Index for the Amazon region of Brazil. So as we're currently in the global index measuring countries, but this was created by some friends in the Brazilian non-profit Amazon, which breaks down the Social Progress Index scores to the level of 772 municipalities in the Amazon region of Brazil. And this provides a detailed mapping of which are the most deprived areas. And you'll see in the middle here, Pará State, which I think is about the size of Texas. So the governor of Pará State is now using this data to guide the state's development strategy going forward. So and this model of creating subnational indices, we're now rolling out to 14 cities in Colombia, Rio de Janeiro, and a host of other cities and states across Latin America. And then after we published this Amazon index, we were then approached by Coca-Cola. Because Coca-Cola are working in the Amazon in this place called Caruarí. So I learned strange things in this job. The superfruit, acai, I thought it was called acai, but apparently it's called acai. The acai berry is gathered by rainforest agriculturalists and is an incredibly important part of Coca-Cola's supply chain. So Coca-Cola has a strong interest in the sustainable development of the regions where these agriculturists live. So Coca-Cola have taken the Social Progress Index for the Amazon region, and they've refined it even further, partnering with Ipsos to create a community-level social progress measure that's going to be informing Coca-Cola's social investments program, but also that of other businesses like Natura and also the local government. So we've taken the Social Progress Index from the world to the country, to the state, to the municipality, and the community. And that really can be applied anywhere in the world, to any community of any scale. And a piece of exciting news just last month is we've just had an announcement that the European Commission is going to be adopting the Social Progress Index to measure the performance of the regions of Europe. So this is the 250-odd subnational regions of Europe. We're going to be working with the European Commission to produce a subnational index. And we're also now moving into the United States. We've just launched a partnership with Michigan and other parts of the United States as well. And then next year, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, moving further. So the Social Progress Index really is about a way of redefining, reframing how we think about development to really put the social side front and center in a way that is practically useful for decision makers in government and business. As a complement to GDP, it works for government leaders in setting development strategies. And also by creating a clear measure of social progress, it can really help inform business leaders in understanding not just CSR programs, but also the wider shared value offering. This is a project that's just beginning. We're getting fantastic momentum. It's been great to come and speak to you, and would love to hear your reactions and thoughts. And if you want to find me, here I am. Thank you.
Yes, Edward.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's an exciting tool that obviously has universal application. We're going to start our panel now. on the challenges facing us and how to turn these into opportunities. My name is Tom Hanson. I work with Partnership for Change, and I'm from the University of Minnesota. And to start our panel, I would like to ask Dr. Ernst von Weizsäcker to join Michael and myself up here on the stage, and we'll get underway.
Takes a while.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. von Weizsäcker. Yes. So just proceed right over here. I'll sit in the middle here. Yeah. So Dr. Ernst von Weizsäcker is one of the most important voices in Germany and really in Europe on these issues. He's a former member of the German Parliament, and he is co-president of the Club of Rome. I'd like to start our panel by asking Dr. von Weizsäcker for his reactions to Michael's remarks, and also the idea of how we can reframe or the debate change the paradigm we're dealing with, and how that mental shift fits into the challenges we face.
Well, let me begin by simply saying, as you probably all feel, it's a fantastic achievement. Congratulations, very good. Also, it's clever to separate it from the GDP so that you then can see the synergies and perhaps trade-offs. I may have two problems which you can help solve. One is the environmental side. I'm sort of following the discussion on the Sustainable Development Goals. And in various places, including the International Resource Panel, which I have been co-chairing, we have been looking at synergies and trade-offs between the social and economic Sustainable Development Goals, which are more or less the Millennium Development Goals, and the environmental side. And contrary to public rhetorics, they clash, they massively clash. If 7 billion people had super social and economic achievements, the environment would be gone, you know, climate and all that. And second, rightly, you now look into the imperative side. Well, that also requires incentives in the right direction. And so far, again, with regard to environment and sustainability long-term, etc., we are honored and rewarded for the wrong things. The GDP is top in terms of incentive structures. So the political objective will be to reward those who go for your social performance indicator and indeed for long-term and environment. It's a big task.
Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, great comments. I was at a conference recently, and someone was explaining to me that when the Human Development Index was created by Mahbub al-Haq of the UN, apparently the great Indian economist Amartya Sen wrote to him and said, nice idea, but really you should leave GDP out of the model. So the idea wasn't ours. And apparently Mahbub al-Haq wrote back and said, we'd love to, but no one will take us seriously if we don't have GDP in the Human Development Index model. And I mention this because I think it's really important, I feel, that the time has come for this debate. I think the financial crisis, the Arab Spring, the consciousness about the environmental limits we're running up against means that we are ready to talk about alternative measurement, and see the flaws of GDP in a way that we weren't even 5 or 10 years ago. So I think that's one of the reasons I'm optimistic. I think timing is really important. On incentives, I mean, I think we work very hard to actually learn the lessons of GDP. Why did GDP become so successful? I mean, it was designed as a macroeconomic management tool. Why did it conquer the world? Well, it didn't do it overnight, but I think one of the reasons GDP was so successful was because it worked politically. It works as a very simple measure that any politician can use to say, have I done a good job? Yes, GDP went up. And any journalist can use it, and it becomes part of the currency. And then this has been one of our objectives with the Social Progress Index, is creating a score, a ranking, is to drive it into the political debate in a way that complex dashboards, and with respect, 17 sustainable development goals, 169 targets, never will be able to do so. So I think the incentives are going to come from making it part of the currency and part of the debate. And then the final thing in terms of incentives is, I think, we're really optimistic. Our chairman of our advisory board is Michael Porter from Harvard Business School, red-blooded capitalist, registered Republican, a strong supporter of business. And one of the reasons he's interested is because he thinks that social progress actually supports long-term economic success. And if we can stand that up empirically, then we can help to change the debate about why social progress matters.
I'd like to ask, in your index, Michael, is there anything that clearly points to democracy as being the best way to handle these issues? Social progress can be measured in many ways, and I noticed that what we would call sort of democratic indices are lagging behind. Do you see a tight connection?
Yeah, we're starting to look at what's driving these results. We really need time series to really have an empirical understanding of what really the causations are. People on the web often take our data and come up with comparisons. Someone did it recently to show that there's a positive correlation between lack of religious belief and social progress. I think there's also a correlation between beer consumption per capita and social progress. So I think we always want to be very careful about just doing a static correlation, on that. And so, but it'll be interesting to see, once we get time series, we can see how countries move. Then we can do more sophisticated analysis to understand what really is driving social progress, what the policies are.
Right, exactly.